As the Iran war grinds on, could the next big escalation open a dangerous rift inside NATO over how far to go and whom to arm? By toying with a ground invasion by proxy through local militias, is Trump now risking a major fallout with a key NATO partner that sits at the crossroads of this conflict? With Washington mulling plans to arm Kurdish militias on Iran's borders, is a whole new front in the Middle East war about to erupt beyond anyone's control? As Trump tests Erdogan's red lines on Kurdish groups, are the US and Turkey heading for a serious diplomatic clash right in the middle of war? Despite the killing of multiple top Iranian officials, the United States so far appears to be failing to meet its core war objectives, as Iran's leadership structure and security organs have rapidly reconstituted themselves. After Ali Khamenei's death, his son Mojtaba Khamenei was swiftly installed as the new supreme leader, ensuring continuity at the apex of Iran's political and religious power. Ahmed Vahidi was designated as the new commander-in-chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps following the killing of senior IRGC commander Pakpor, preserving the force's operational chain of command. Iran also moved to designate roughly 3 to 7 replacements for other sensitive government and security posts, according to reports, blunting the intended impact of leadership decapitation strikes. All this has unfolded while stated US goals have fluctuated between decimating Iran's defenses, degrading its regional power projection and, at times, suggesting the toppling of the regime itself. Analysts say that Trump's most ambitious objective, fundamentally weakening or overthrowing the Iranian regime, will be virtually impossible to achieve without placing US boots on the ground inside Iran. However, most senior US military and political leaders have repeatedly and publicly opposed any large-scale ground troop deployment into Iran, citing escalation risks and post-war occupation burdens. Amid this strategic debate, Washington has been weighing options that include arming Kurdish groups to carry out incursions into Iran and destabilize the regime from its border regions. Experts warn that such a scenario could trigger knock-on effects that extend far beyond Iran, reshaping security dynamics across Turkey, Iraq, Syria, and the wider region. The Kurds are an ethnic group with their own distinct language, culture, and historical identity in the Middle East. They have lived for centuries in a predominantly mountainous region that stretches across parts of the Middle East. Their current global population is estimated at around 30 million people. The Kurdish community is split across several international borders and does not have an independent state of its own. Most Kurds live in areas of Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria that are often collectively referred to as Kurdistan. The largest share of the Kurdish population lives in Turkey, where they form the country's biggest ethnic minority. Kurds make up around 10% of Iran's population, concentrated mainly in the country's western border regions. Armed Kurdish groups have periodically clashed with Iran, reflecting long-running tensions over rights, autonomy, and security. The armed group Kurdistan Workers Party, or PKK, has long fought to establish an independent or highly autonomous Kurdish state spanning parts of Turkey and neighboring countries. Since 1984, Turkey has been locked in a long-running and often violent conflict with the Kurdistan Workers Party, or PKK. Over the past 4 decades, this conflict has taken a heavy toll, with more than 40,000 people killed, according to various estimates. Because of this history, Turkey is likely to view any fresh US support for Kurdish fighters as a direct national security concern, not just a tactical move against Iran. Ankara fears that renewed American backing for armed Kurdish groups could embolden their movement inside Turkey and fuel a resurgence of insurgent activity. US military and political support for Kurdish fighters has already caused serious friction with Turkey in the past, particularly during campaigns against ISIS. In the late 2010s, Turkey strongly opposed the partnership between the United States and Syrian Kurdish forces, which Ankara regarded as closely linked to the PKK. Turkish officials also argue that a sudden collapse of the Iranian regime would create exactly the kind of regional instability they fear most along their eastern frontier. Ankara is concerned that armed Kurdish groups could exploit an unstable, weakly controlled border with Iran to expand their operations and carve out new safe havens. Another major concern for Turkey, experts say, is the possibility of a fresh, large-scale refugee crisis spilling over from a destabilized Iran into neighboring states. Turkey already hosts nearly 4 million Syrian refugees following the civil war that began in 2011, which has strained its economy, social services, and domestic politics. If the Iranian regime were to collapse and conflict intensified, many additional refugees could flee westward, with a significant share likely heading towards Turkey's territory.